There was once a time not very long ago when every company wanted to be a fintech. Food delivery, ride hailing, e commerce, these were all companies that you would not have traditionally associated with financial services. And yet, they all seem to be thinking and acting a lot like a fintech. When you think about it, it does add up. Because until quite recently, this was where the money was at. Indian fintechs received nearly $9 billion dollars in funding in calendar year 2021. It was one of the hottest sectors in the country. In fact, the inside joke among venture capitalists was how founders could raise a round of funding just by mentioning financial services in their pitch deck. Let me give you some context. You see, at the time, payments and transactions were becoming a central part of all these companies. They had, to a great extent, become inseparable functions. So many of them decided to go for the natural extension and enabled lending and insurance services too. What were earlier standalone businesses would now exist as mere features on their apps. So people in the industry came up with a catch all term. They called it fintech as a feature. Take Ola, for instance. It has a wallet service called Ola Money. It sells co branded credit cards. It offers postpaid services. And it's the same with e commerce giants like Amazon and Flipkart. The hypothesis is pretty straightforward. The company's hero service, be it ride hailing or e commerce, has already acquired a bunch of customers who keep coming back to the app. So the next natural step is selling them financial services too. Now, around that time, Zomato seemed to have been going down that path too. In fact, in 2022, it even applied for a non-bank financial company or NBFC license with the Reserve Bank of India. But since then, things have changed. From 2022 onwards, the amount of money being raised by fintechs has dipped considerably. In fact, in 2022, they raised about $5.4 billion. Then in 2023, this amount fell to $2 billion. And with that, the writing on the wall was clear. Pure play fintech wasn't as lucrative a bet as it once was. So it makes sense that about a month and a half ago, Zomato's board of directors decided to officially withdraw its application for an NBFC license. Even before that, it had voluntarily surrendered its payment aggregator license. And it's not just Zomato. Even non-banks are going down that route. In the recent past, at least 9 of them surrendered their licenses. 2 said it was because of technical reasons, while the rest decided to exit the business altogether. In a recent edition of the Ken's newsletter Kaching, Ronak Kumar Gunjan delved into why this might be happening. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host Rahel Philippos, and I'll be joining Snigdha Sharma every week to bring you one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Wednesday, the 4th of September. The first reason Ronak cites in Kaching is timing. Basically, by the time companies like Zomato got to the scene, other companies like PhonePe, Google Pay, and Paytm, the OG fintechs, had already captured most of the market. So it'd be very difficult for these newcomers with their varied hero products to come in and actually stand out. They would struggle to create a differentiated enough product or experience. Because at the end of the day, there are only so many ways in which you could make payments or avail financial services. And even if you somehow manage to do it, other things don't quite make sense. Ronak breaks it down for us. You see, for users on apps like Google Pay or PhonePe or Paytm, UPI is the hero product. So it's pretty much an acquisition tool for them, a way for them to get more customers. But remember, UPI as a product has very thin margins. So while fintechs may use it as a customer acquisition tool, it doesn't make a lot of sense for other companies. Take the case of Zomato, for instance. UPI is the last activity in a user's journey on Zomato. So you place an order for a meal or some other feature on Zomato, and then you go to UPI. So for Zomato, it doesn't really make sense for UPI to be used as an acquisition tool. And in any case, it also already has a pretty robust customer acquisition funnel as is. Now, as for lending, companies with larger user bases can either partner with lenders and send them loan-worthy customers, or they can lend out of their own books. That's exactly what an NBFC license allows them to do. But this sort of sourcing model offers very low revenue potential for the non-lending partner. And Ronak says lending from your own books requires very robust balance sheets and positive cash flows. Unfortunately, very few new age companies are able to actually achieve this. Having said that, we do know that there are companies that still decide to go ahead with it. What happens to them? Well, they then have to deal with the big, scary headmaster waiting to reprimand all the wannabe fintechs. I'm talking about the Reserve Bank of India, the RBI, of course. More on that in the next segment. It isn't easy to deal with the RBI, especially when you are a fintech. The regulator has done a really good job scaring away a lot of companies. And it's done that in a bunch of different ways, like raising risk weights for unsecured loans in November last year, or initiating forensic audits in the first quarter of 2024, or even asking fintechs to limit their revenue growth to 15 to 20% instead of 30%. So for companies that are already generating enough revenues without fintech as a feature, staying out of the RBI's way is pretty ideal. Ronak spoke to a Zomato executive who put it quite simply. He said it's better to be a food aggregator than to be regulated by the RBI. And all things considered, that executive may have a point. Whether this is the RBI doing its best to maintain a clean financial space in India or scaring new players away is a debate for another day. But there are still some companies going down the fintech as a service route. Like Ola, it continues its financial services wing. But a senior banker told Ronak that may not be the best idea for a company like Ola. Ola's co-branded credit card with SBI hardly has takers. And even though the card offers cashbacks on Ola rides, flights, and hotel bookings, he says that there are far better credit cards available in the market. Some companies still seem pretty undeterred by all of this. Like Flipkart, for instance. It recently launched its own Super Money platform. But there is a difference. Instead of having fintech as a feature on its original app, Flipkart has hived off a separate financial services entity looking exclusively at these services. So has Ola. But does that really make a difference? Well, Ronak says we just have to wait and watch.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription unlocks daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and podcast extras. Head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the website. Today's episode was hosted by Rahil Philippos, produced by me, Snigdha Sharma, and edited by Rajiv CN.